Hey y'all, I'm back. Okay, so I know that was really quick, but I wanted to go ahead and get started because I don't want y'all to I don't want y'all to be mad at me. I was supposed to go live again on Friday or Saturday to finish out chapter 7 so that today we can start on chapter 8 of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. But it was a lot going on. It was a lot going on. And it was kids' birthday parties and it was so many things going on that honestly I didn't feel like and I forgot to tell you guys. So I apologize. But we're gonna go ahead and hop into it because I don't want to keep you guys too long. I don't know if you all saw my I don't know if you guys saw my last live that I just did, like literally a few minutes ago. But if you haven't, please go check it out. Please make sure that when you come on here, you let me know where you're tuning in from, if this is your first time or if this is not your first time. And please make sure that you heart and share out so that anyone who has started the book can go ahead and catch it with us. So we are on page 163. We're starting from the big gap, emotional addiction. Um, and if you don't have the book, you can get the book at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I'm sure, any bookstore, a thrift store, you can get it from Audible, and you can also get it from Spotify Premium because they have audiobooks. And my Spotify is showing me another book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called "You Are the Placebo." So I might go ahead and listen to that next. But yeah, like if you have Spotify Premium, you can get audiobooks as well. So if you have Audible already, grab it on Audible. I'm sure it's on Kindle probably as well. I don't say Kindle just because I don't use Kindle, but I'm sure there are people who still use Kindle. I can't actually read it on the screen. It's too much for my eyeballs. But let's go ahead and get into it. I had to find the book. Let me make sure my volume is good. And if you guys hear any background noise, please let me know in the comment section so that I can try to adjust for you all because I want you all to hear the audio and not whatever is going on in my background. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to hit play. We have like 30 minutes left, I think, on this one. Yeah, 30 minutes on this one.
Tend to diminish the severity of the damage caused by what I'll loosely refer to here as material addictions to drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, consumerism, and so forth. Those problems cause great harm to the numerous people who suffer from them, and to those who love and work with such addicts. While many people who experience these and other addictions can use the steps in these pages to overcome them, since they are a part of the big three, it's beyond the scope of this book to deal with these kinds of addictions specifically. But it is imperative to realize that behind every addiction, there is some memorized emotion that is driving the behavior. What is not beyond the scope of this book, and is, in fact, its central purpose, is helping people break the habit of being themselves, whether they view that self as being an alcoholic, a sexaholic, a gambler, a shopaholic, or someone who is chronically lonely, depressed, angry, bitter, or physically unwell. In thinking about the gap, possibly you said to yourself, well, of course we hide from other people our fears, insecurities, weaknesses, and dark side. If we gave those things free rein to be fully expressed, we'd likely be beyond anyone else's caring about us, let alone caring about ourselves. In a sense, that's true. But if we are to break free, it means we have to confront that true self and bring out into the light that shadow side of our personality. The advantage of the system I employ is that you can confront those darker aspects of yourself without bringing them into the light of your everyday reality. You don't have to walk into your place of work or a family gathering and announce, "Hey, listen up, everyone. I'm a bad person," because for a long time I resented my parents for having to spend a lot of time with my younger sibling, while I felt my needs were being neglected. So now I'm a really selfish person who craves attention and needs instant gratification in order to stop feeling unloved and inadequate. Instead, in the privacy of your own home and your own mind, you can work on extinguishing negative aspects of self and replacing those characteristics, or at least metaphorically cutting away back on the role they play and allowing them only an occasional brief appearance, with more positive and productive ones. I want you to forget about past events validating the emotions you've memorized that have become part of your personality. Your problems will never be resolved by analyzing them while you are still caught up in the emotions of the past. Looking at the experience or reliving the event that created the problem in the first place will only bring up the old emotions and a reason to feel the same way. When you try to figure out your life within the same consciousness that created it, you will analyze your life away and excuse yourself from ever changing. Instead, let's just unmemorize our self-limiting emotions. A memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Then we can look back upon the event and see it and who we were being, without the filter of that emotion. If we take care of unmemorizing the emotional state or eliminating it to the best of our ability, then we gain the freedom to live and think and act independent of the restraints or constraints of that feeling. So if a person relinquished unhappiness and got on with his life, entered into a new relationship, got a new job, moved to a new place, and made new friends, and then he looked at that past event, he would see that it provided the adversity he needed.
Sorry, y'all.
In order to overcome who he was and become this new person. His perspective would change just by seeing that he could actually overcome the problem. Closing and even eliminating the gap between who we are and who we present to the world is likely the greatest challenge we will all face in life. Whether we term authentically, conquering ourselves, or having people get us or accept us for who we are, something that most of us desire. Changing, closing the gap, must begin from within. Yet far too often, most of us change only when we are faced with a crisis, trauma, or discouraging diagnosis of some sort. That crisis commonly comes in the form of a challenge, which may be physical, an accident, or an illness. The loss of someone we love, for example. Spiritual, for instance, an accumulation of setbacks that has us questioning our worth and how the universe operates. Or financial, a job loss perhaps. Note that all of the above are about losing something. Why wait for trauma or loss to occur and have your ego get knocked off balance due to that negative emotional state? Clearly, when a calamity befalls you, you have to act. You can't take care of business as usual when you've been knocked, as the expression goes, to your knees. At those critical moments when we've really grown tired of being beaten down by circumstances, we'll say, "This can't go on. I don't care what it takes or how I feel, body. I don't care how long it takes, time. No matter what's going on in my life, environment, I'm going to change. I have to. We can learn and change in the state of pain and suffering, or we can do it in a state of joy and inspiration. We don't have to wait until we are so uncomfortable that we feel forced to move out of our resting state. As you know, one of the key skills you need to develop is self-awareness, self-observation. That's a shortcut of what I mean when I talk about meditation in the next chapter. In meditation, you're going to look at the negative emotional state that has had such an impact on your life. You're going to recognize the primary state of your personality that drives your thoughts and behaviors, so that you become intimately familiar with every nuance of them. Over time, you're going to use those powers of observation to help you unmemorize that negative emotional state. By doing so, you will surrender that emotion to a greater mind, closing the gap between who you are and who you have presented to the world in the past. Picture yourself standing in a room with arms outstretched, pushing the opposite walls apart. Do you have any idea how much energy you would consume if you were trying to keep those walls from crushing you? Instead of doing that, what if you released those two walls, took a couple of steps forward, after all that gap is kind of like a door, isn't it? And walked out of that room and into a completely new one? What about that other room you left behind? Well, the walls have come together in such a way that you can't ever get back inside it. That gap has closed, and the separate parts of you have become unified. And what's going to happen to all that energy you were expending? Physics states that energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed. That's exactly what's going to happen to you when you get to the point that no thought, no emotion, no subconscious behavior goes unnoticed. You can think of this another way. You'll be going into the operating system of the subconscious and bringing all that data and those instructions into your conscious awareness to truly see where those urges and proclivities that have taken control of your life are located. You become conscious of your unconscious self. When we break the chains of that bond, we liberate the body. It is no longer the mind living in the same past day after day. When we liberate the body emotionally, we close the gap. When we close the gap, we release the energy that was once used to produce it. With that energy, we now have the raw material we can use to create a new life. Refer figure 7E, closing the gap. Another side effect of breaking the bonds of your emotional addictions is that this release of energy is like a healthy shot of some wonderful elixir. Not only are you energized, but you feel something you likely haven't felt in quite a while: joy. When you liberate the body from the chains of an emotional dependency, you will feel uplifted and inspired. Have you ever taken a long car trip? When you get out of your vehicle and finally stretch a bit and breathe fresh air, and the sound of the car's tires on the pavement, or the heater's fan, or the air conditioner's whir falls silent, that's a great feeling. Imagine how much better those new sensations would feel if you'd been locked in the trunk for 2,000 miles. For a lot of us, that's exactly how we've been feeling for a significant stretch of time. Keep in mind that it's not enough merely to notice how you've been thinking, feeling, and behaving. Meditation requires you to be more active than that. You also have to tell the truth about yourself. You have to come clean and reveal what you've been hiding in that shadow part of the gap. You have to drag things out in the light of day. And when you really see what you've been doing to yourself, you have to look at that mess and say, this is no longer serving my best interests. This is no longer serving me. This has never been loving to myself. Then you can make a decision and be free. One person who reaped the rewards of facing her life with the courage of a quantum observer is Pamela, a participant in one of my seminars. Pamela struggled financially because for 2 years, her unemployed ex-husband hadn't paid the mandated child support. Frustrated, angry, and feeling victimized, she even reacted negatively to unrelated situations. The meditation we did that day was about how the end product of any experience is an emotion. Because so many of our experiences involve family and friends, we share the resultant emotions with them. That's usually a good thing. Bonds related to places we've been, things we've done, even objects we've shared, can strengthen our connection with people. But the flip side is that we also share the emotions associated with negative experiences. We bond energetically with one another in a place beyond time and space. Because we are entangled with others, to use quantum terms, and frequently bond through survival-orientated emotions, it is almost impossible for us to change when we are still connected by negative experiences and emotions. Thus, reality stays the same. In Pamela's case, her ex-husband's anxiety, guilt, and feelings of inferiority about not being able to support his children were woven into the fabric of her state of being, along with her own emotions of victimization, resentment, and lack. Whenever opportunity knocked, her victimhood reared its ugly head and produced an undesirable outcome. Her destructive emotions and the energy associated with them had virtually frozen her in a stagnant state of doing and being. No matter what she did to try to change the situation, she and her ex-husband were bonded together by their mutual negative experiences, emotions, and energies, and thus none of her efforts ever changed her circumstances with him. The workshop helped Pamela realize that she had to break this bond. She had to let go of the emotions that defined her in her present reality. She also learned how a cycle of thinking, feeling, and acting in the same way for years could produce a cascade of effects that might trigger genes for disease. And she didn't want that to happen. Something had to give. I like that phrase because, as Pamela told me afterward, during the meditation, she recognized the injurious emotions that her victimization had set in motion. Impatience with her kids, complaining and blaming, of desperation and lack. She let go of those emotions associated with past experiences, simultaneously releasing her self-involved state of being, and gave them up to the greater mind. In so doing, Pamela released all of that frozen energy into the quantum field, closing the gap between who she thought she was and who she presented to the world. She did this so well, she started to feel so overjoyed and grateful that she wanted abundance for everyone, not just herself. She moved from selfish emotions to selfless emotions. She got up from that meditation a different person from who she was before it. Pamela's energy release signaled the field to begin organizing outcomes that were just right for the new self she was in the process of becoming. Almost immediately, she received evidence of this in 2 forms. The first involved her internet business. When she had previously tried a promotion, she fretted about the response to it, constantly checking her website, and saw only mediocre results. She initiated her second promotion the morning of the workshop, but was too busy to think about the results during the day. That evening, she was feeling the positive effects of having let go of the past. She felt even better when she discovered that she had earned nearly $10,000 that day from the promotion she'd run. Pamela received the second piece of evidence 3 days later when her caseworker called to report that her ex had sent a check not just for that month, but for the full $12,000 in back support payments that he owed. She was beyond pleased to have made nearly $22,000 after doing that meditation. She did nothing in the physical realm to bring about those results and couldn't have predicted how the money would find its way to her. But she was enormously grateful that it had. What Pamela's story illustrates is the power of letting go of negative emotions. When we are mired in our time-worn mindset and habitual behaviors and perceptions, there's no way for us to find solutions to problems rooted in the past. And those problems, experiences really, produce powerful, energetic emotions. Once we relinquish those, we experience an enormous release of energy, and reality magically rearranges itself. Think about how much of your creative energy is tied up in guilt, judgment, fear, or anxiety related to people and experiences from your past. Imagine how much good you could do by converting any destructive energy to productive energy. Contemplate what you could accomplish if you weren't focused on survival, a selfish emotion, but instead worked to create out of positive intentions, a selfless emotion. Ask yourself, what energy from past experiences in the form of limited emotions am I holding on to that reinforces my past identity and emotionally attaches me to my current circumstances? Could I use this same energy and transform it into an elevated state from which to create a new and different outcome? Meditating will peel away some of the layers, remove some of the mask you've worn. Both of those things have blocked the flow of that grand intelligence within you. As a result of shedding those layers, you will become transparent. You are transparent. How you appear is who you are. And when you live your life that way, you will experience a state of gratitude, of elevated joy, which I believe is our natural state of being. As you do this, you begin to move out of the past so that you can set your sights on the future. As you remove the veils that block the flow of this intelligence within you, you will become more like it. You become more loving, more giving, more conscious, more willful, because that is its mind. The gap closes. At this stage, you feel happy and whole. You no longer rely on the external world to define you. The elevated emotions you are feeling are unconditional. Nobody else and no event can make you feel that way. You are happy and feel inspired just because of who you are. You no longer live in a state of lack or want. And do you know the funny thing about not wanting or lacking for anything? That's when you can really begin to manifest things naturally. Most people try to create in a state of lack, unworthiness, separation, or some other limited emotion rather than from a state of gratitude, enthusiasm, or wholeness. That's when the field responds most favorably to you. All of this starts with recognizing that the gap exists and meditating on the negative emotional states that have produced that gap and dominated your personality. Unless you are prepared to look closely at yourself and assess your propensities with tender honesty, not beating yourself up for your failings, you will forever be mired in some past event and the negative emotions it produced. See it, understand it, release it. Create with the energy available to you by taking the mind out of the body and releasing it into the field. The advertising connection. Please understand that advertising agencies and their corporate clients fully understand the notion of lack and how it plays a commanding role in our behavior. They want us to believe that they have the answers to take away that emptiness by our identifying with their product. Advertisers even put famous faces into their ads to subconsciously plant the seed that the consumer can surely relate to this person as the new you. Feeling bad about yourself? Buy something. Don't fit in socially? Buy something. Feeling a negative emotion because of some sense of loss, separation, or longing? This microwave, big screen, TV, car, cell phone, whatever, is just the ticket. You'll feel better about yourself, be accepted by society, and have 40% fewer cavities as well. We're all controlled emotionally by this notion of lack. I started this chapter by telling you of that moment when I was sitting on my couch and realized that there was quite a gap between who I really was and the identity I presented to the world. So I'd like to close this chapter by telling you the rest of the story. Around the time this happened, I was traveling frequently, lecturing to people who had seen me in the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? When I was speaking in front of groups, I felt really alive, and I'm sure I came across as happy. But in that moment, I was feeling numb. That's when it hit me. I had to show up being how everybody expected me to be, based on how I appeared in the movie. I started believing I was somebody else, and I needed the world to remind me of who I thought I was. I was actually living two different lives. No longer did I want to be trapped by that. As I sat alone that morning, I felt my heart beating, and I started thinking about who was beating my heart. I realized in one instant that I had distanced myself from this innate intelligence. I closed my eyes and put all of my attention on it. I started to admit who I'd been, what I'd been hiding, and how unhappy I was. I began to surrender some aspects of myself to a greater mind. I then reminded myself of who I no longer wanted to be. I decided how I no longer wanted to live based on that same personality. Next, I observed my unconscious behaviors, thoughts, and feelings that reinforced my old self and reviewed them until they became familiar to me. Then I thought about who I did want to be as a new personality, until I became it. Suddenly, I began to feel different, joyful. This had nothing to do with all of those things outside of me. It was part of an identity that was independent of any of that external stuff. I knew that I was on to something. I had an immediate reaction after that first meditation on the couch, and it caught my attention because I didn't get up as the same person who had sat down. I stood up, and I felt so aware and so alive. It was like I was seeing so many things for the first time. Some mask was removed from me, and I wanted more of that. So I returned from my life for 6 months. I kept up my clinical practice to some degree, but I canceled all of my lectures. My friends thought I was losing my mind. I was, because What the Bleep was at its height, and they reminded me about how much money I could have been making. But I said I would never walk on stage again until I was no longer living an ideal for the world, but one for myself. I didn't want to lecture again until I was the living example of everything that I was talking about. I needed to take time for my meditations and to make true change in my life. And I wanted to have joy from within me and not from outside of me. And I wanted that to come across when I lectured. My transformation wasn't immediate. I meditated every day looking at my unwanted emotions, and one by one, I began to unmemorize them. I started my meditative process of unlearning and relearning, and I worked to change myself. In the process, I was intentionally dismantling my old identity and breaking the habit of being myself. That's when I began to feel joyful for no reason. I became happier and happier, and it had nothing to do with anything outside of me. Today, I make time to meditate every morning because I want more of that state of being. Whatever has drawn you to this book, when you make up your mind to change, you have to move to a new consciousness. You must become very clear about what you're doing, how you're thinking, how you're living, how you're feeling, and how you're being, to the point that it isn't you and you don't want to be it any longer. And that shift has to reach you on a gut level. What you're about to learn is what I did, the steps I took in making my own personal changes. But take heart. You very well may have done something similar in your life already. There's just a little more knowledge to come related to the meditative process in order for you to make this method of change a skill. So let's get to it.
All right, y'all. So before we start chapter 8, I want to see if you all want to move on to chapter 8, because chapter 8 is a meditation. It's called Meditation, Demystifying the Mystical and Waves of Your Future. Sorry, y'all. It's a lot of noise in my house, and I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. That is why I have the microphone, because the microphone, it actually reduces the background noise. And it's so much it's been noise going on for like the whole time that I've been live. This second time. The first time it wasn't any noise when I went live for like I think 15 minutes. But the entire time that I have been doing this book reading session, it has been so much noise in my house. So I'm hoping that you all were able to hear and that you didn't hear all of the background noise. Because I don't know what these kids are doing in here, but it's just been super loud. So I apologize if you guys heard all of the background noise. If you were not able to hear the chapter, I apologize about that. But yes, chapter 8 is called Meditation, Demystifying the Mystical and Waves of Your Future. And thank y'all so much for everyone who has been joining the live. I do appreciate you. Please share this live, heart this live. And for the ones who have already hearted and shared this live, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. If you are new to this live, this is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It is a book reading session. I wanted to start off with a book that was going to help shift our mindset as far as getting us prepared to really take a deep dive into our spiritual journeys. Because although we all may be on spiritual journeys, we all go through, our different journeys individually. No one's journey is going to be the same. What is that? Okay. I don't know. I don't have my glasses on, but I'm hoping that that's a book inside of my bag because it looks like people. So that's what I hope it is. But anyway, we all go through different periods of our journeys. But I do feel that, and this is my own personal opinion, I do feel that everyone's journey should have some sort of personal work that goes on. Whether, that is shadow work or whatever you may call it, some form of self growth must happen. I feel during your spiritual journey, because if not, then what is your journey entailing, right? Everybody, I feel, should be having some sort of growth in their life at, anyway. Like, you shouldn't be the same person that you were yesterday. You should be forever evolving and changing and doing new things for yourself. So That is why I chose this book. And this book definitely in the past 7 chapters has already really started to open my eyes up to certain things in this book. Hello, thank you so much from Kenya. What time is it in Kenya? Thank you so much for being able to hop on the live. I do appreciate that. Um, so, even I feel like even if you are just learning new things every day, your journey you have some sort of knowledge, right? But you have to grow from it. Like, use some of the tools that you are learning and use that and incorporate it in your life. Um, you should be able to incorporate some of the things that you have learned either from others or from books or from some form of research that you've done and incorporate it in your life and see how does it pertain to you. What is it that you may have been through that you could work on? You know, I feel that everyone has gone through some form of trauma, some form of something that has changed their life forever, right? And you may still be affected by that. You may not still be affected by that, or you may have swept it under the rug, as we like to say, right? Maybe take one thing at a time and try to work on that. Try to, say, how can I like Dr. Joe Dispenza said, how can I take this negative emotion and work on it? Okay? How can I work on this to where I don't feel this negative emotion towards what happened towards me in the past anymore? It's important that you heal from the past traumas, from the past hurts that you have in order to grow as a person, in order to be able to evolve into who you are supposed to be, not the people that we have made ourselves to be. And for the longest time, I just want to tell y'all real quick, just for the longest time, you know, I was hurt. I didn't care about what I was doing. And I was young. I was in my 20s. I didn't care about anything I was doing. Um, it really didn't matter because I didn't feel that I was worthy enough to be able to find better. I didn't feel that I was worthy enough to really and truly be loved by someone. I didn't feel worthy enough that I would be able to get out of the income based apartment that I was living in. I didn't feel that I could do much better than what I was doing. Okay. Now I know that I am healing from those things. And it took a long time, yes. But now I'm able to sit back and reflect on all of those things that I've been through. And I'm able to say, I'm worthy of everything that I want. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of something that is greater than I can even ever imagine. I can do anything. I don't have to sit back and have what I feel was just given to me. I don't have to be with and accept the bare minimum from my job or anything, or family, or anyone, or friends, or, you know, from anything, any person, any place, anywhere. I can have whatever it is that I want. And that is where we see like our transformation. That is where, as long as we are grateful for everything that we have or had or will have, as long as we can know that everything is going to work out no matter what it is, that is where the transformation happens. So let's see about chapter 8, because I definitely want to know about this meditation. Ooh, hold on. Oh, so, oh, look, and I flipped to page 222. But let's see how long it says chapter 8 is. Chapter 8 is an hour and 18 minutes and 11 seconds. So we will have to do chapter 8 on Thursday. And we will because on Thursdays we actually start the book reading session earlier. So it's gonna be when I get off of work, which is at I'll be here by 5:30. So we're gonna start the book reading session at 6 so that I have time to get myself together and get everything pulled up. So we'll start the book reading session at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. On Thursday is the 29th, August the 29th. And it's going to be chapter 8. And it's page 175 in the hard copy. And it is called Meditation, Demystifying the Mystical and Waves of Your Future. So what I'm going to do, oh, there's my bookmark. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to put this sticky flag. I'm going to put this sticky flag at the end of chapter 8. Ooh, y'all, my leg is numb. I just fell asleep. And really, after chapter 8, y'all, 11. Like, we are almost done. It's only 14 chapters, the afterward section. So we are really getting near the end of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. But so that we can just be ahead of the game, let me know what type of books you would like to do after this. I have spiritual books, I have chakra books, I have more transformative books. Like I have a book Michelle Obama, I have a book by Trent Shelton. I have a book, I have an aura book, a lot of different things. Or we could get a book that I don't even know about myself. Oops, sorry, y'all. So y'all just let me know what suggestions you have for the next book that we should go and read, so that everybody can actually get the book way ahead of time before we even either finish this book or right when we're about to end this book. That would be actually great. So yeah, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll be checking that from now until we finish the book, Breaking Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. All right, y'all. I love y'all so much. I hope that y'all have a fantastic night. Thank you again for the shares. Thank you again for the hearts. Thank you again interact. I appreciate y'all so much. And I will see y'all on Thursday. I have it on my calendar. So it's going to be there. It's going to happen. All right, y'all. Life has been a little bit, but we'll get it together. All right. Good night, y'all.